Hello, hello, hello. This is a Pub in the Life. So, today we are recording from the studio because Vergola, I am very tired and Mom is thinking about maybe I'm not feeling well. We hope that's not the case. Right, Vergola? So, I've been on the sofa all day and yeah, that's about it. There's not so much stuff to just be talking about. So today we're gonna talk about something that popped off in Mom's mind. Hopefully I'm fine, I'm okay. That came up after a couple of events she's attending and she has attended, and frankly just had the same feeling over and over and over that she just wants to share. And so what happened was related to startup investor relationship. So if you're a founder, if you're an investor, you probably care about this more than anyone else, but it's probably something that's worth explaining just in general, just checking it out. So the general feeling that she has from most relations she has with founders and investors, it's like the amount of boredom that, exists between one and the other. One is very bored to hear yet another pitch, yet another something. And I'm sure it's not politically correct, but it's the thing we're actually seeing day in and day out. Very bored, very tired, it's all the same thing, which doesn't serve to anybody actually, because it's kind of something that if I'm bored, I'm never going to listen. And that's also probably something that doesn't even relate to the actual quality of the founder. Because if you're always bored, once you actually are it's actually your work to be listening to people. So I just think, there is nothing to really talk about if you're doing your job. If you start from a place of boredom and not of excitement, because that's what you do all day, what is actually that you're doing, right? But from another angle, I totally understand it, because as a founder who talks a lot with other founders, I realize, as talking through Vergola, but Vergola know that Moms realizes that there is just so much of the knowledge of how is the investor's game, of how investors play, of how they talk, of what they want, and how to, negotiate and even start talking with them, that is so far off and so far away of what's actually the real language that they speak, that it is just mind-blowing. And so there are two words that collide and that don't have an evident, that they probably point to different problems. The first one being, oh my God, not one single investor wants to invest in my idea. And trust me, or in my project, as we don't like ideas here in the Pup in the Life, which is probably something that all of you have experienced as founders, even sometimes as investors. And trust me, Mom has this experience too. I remember it vividly. And so this is from the one end. And on the other hand, there is just this game of, oh my God, there's not good startups outside. Well, maybe you just don't speak the same language. You speak a language that is not the same. Therefore, you're not able to understand each other. Now, I don't speak Arabic. What do you think will happen if an Arab person, a person from United Arab Emirates who doesn't speak English, starts speaking in Arabic? I'm not understanding. I might just understand, gestures, postures, non-verbal communications, but you understand intent, you understand general idea, but you don't understand meaning, and you lose 99% of, maybe 90, 85% of the whole conversation. And so the real deal is they need to start to be speaking with each other. And so how can we take away all of this boredom? I would say two main things. There are actually many. From a founder's side and from an investor side, there is way more work than you think to just be able to do it. First off, as founders, piece of advice and actual, thing that I would like to see more and that I strive with day in and day out to make myself better, actually, mom, better with that, is really be able to speak their language. And so having more and more stuff ready as pieces of data, answers, training of, how to overcome objections, and especially planning for the long term to be able to speak and talk with investors. So you will know if you talk to enough fellow founders that have done already what you did, what an investor is asking at a determined stage, how you can price your round, who are the best investors to get in, what you really need to do to make yourself, the best available option to them. And probably the biggest thing is we're not seeing long enough. We're not seeing really what's the game and the long run of the game. This is basically an infinite game. It's not a finite game, which is very, very different. So start planning, start understanding, start asking yourself, what am I going to do with this company? What I want out of that? Don't ask yourself about the first round. You're not going to solve your problems with 100, 200, not even with €1,000,000 to just achieve your vision. Because if that's so, well, your company might be just a tiny brick and mortar business, just a tiny SME, really nice, boutique shop, agency, whatever it is, but it's not a venture fundable company. And so that is one thing. The second thing I would say is once you plan that, start talking with people, start understanding, start getting feedback, and talk with lots of potential investors. This is the only way you can train yourself. It's a sales process. And from the investor side, I'm sorry, it's yet again another sales process. You need to sell yourself. You're not the only one potentially giving money to this person. You don't need to lower the valuation as much if then it hinders the company, ability of performing. There's many things you don't need to do. But the first thing you don't need to do is understanding and avoiding, what you need to understand and avoiding self-awareness of what you actually are. There is no point in making startups waste their time once you are really not interested and once you are really not their best fit. And I know you know. And that's why mom, as a founder, just always asks the questions like, why is this a good fit for the fund? Like, why? How much money is there in the fund? How do you plan follow-ons for the next rounds? These are maybe hard questions, but once you, as investors, as I say to founders, once they ask you if you have questions, you need to ask those questions. But please, investors, don't waste your time with startups that are clearly not in your focus, because they will realize it. It's not how many calls you take, even though sometimes, they will track you based on that. And so please, it's not that you don't have good startups to invest in. There are the good startups, but it needs work. It needs outreach work. It needs relationships. And most of all, it needs brand. If you don't have brand, the really good deals will not go to you, no matter how much money you got. Especially because the really good deals are making so much more beyond money than probably investors even imagine, and especially more than founders even imagine. So mom is so sick of just seeing all this boredom coming on. People just clearly not listening as investors. Startups just go in there to pitch something because they have an appointment, but they really don't know what's next beside the actual moment that they're living. And this is quite bad. This is very, very, very bad. Bad for the ecosystem, bad for the morale of the people, bad for your money as investors, the money of the other people who are you're spending to just target someone, and hopefully they'll just make a return. But how about doing the better work before? Just as the founders prepare themselves, maybe you do too. So, sorry for the rant. This is a Pup in the Life of the day. And I hope I'm gonna feel better. I don't really know what's going on. And I hope mom is just worrying for nothing. And I will talk to you. Hey. Kisses, hugs, and many, many barks. Bye.